In this lecture, you are going to learn about the basic understanding of research methodology subject. What are the different types of research and then the classification of research. And finally, we are going to learn about the research process. Mainly it composed of 6 different steps of research process. So that is what we are going to learn in today's lecture. Okay, today I'll try to make it a brief lecture so we can finish it within 1 hour, hopefully. Okay, so let's start with the defining what is research methodology. So we have to understand the concept first, and later on we'll see whether this word has been interpreted or misinterpreted in different contexts. So that I'm going to tell you the first definition of research methodology. So research methodology is basically specific procedure or techniques we usually use to identify, select and process and also analyze information about any particular issue or topic. Okay, but the most important part, research methodology follows a scientific investigation principle. What are these investigation principles? I will explain it in the further lecture. So in normal way, we can say research methodology is a scientific procedure of identifying, selecting, processing and analyzing the information that we need for a particular topic. Okay, so that is what we mean by research methodology. So if I explain what is identification, it means that you have to identify a problem. If problem already exists or it is going to come in the future, or maybe you are going to extend the body of knowledge. In all cases, you have to identify your topic, your research area very clearly. So the first step or first definition ingredient is identification. And the second ingredient of this identification, and after this you are going to collect the data. So collection means that the evidences you can consider them in the form of data. The data consists of many different types. So these are all evidences which you collect to process and analyze information. Okay, so collect and then you do analyze. So analysis is the third step or third part of this definition, and then you try to disseminate and use this information in order to make your decision or to try to solve any issue or any challenge. Okay, so this is how we consider research methodology. So first, we try to identify a particular issue, or maybe you can consider this as your topic of research, and then we try to collect the information and the data in order to provide evidence to form any particular solution to that problem. And that how we do that, we try to analyze those data which we collected in second field. We try to analyze and then we try to disseminate our result, and then we try to use that information in meaningful way in order to get your meaningful results. Okay, so this is the research methodology. Now you should remember one thing: methodology and research methods, they are two different things, and mostly research methodology has been misinterpreted with the methods. Methodology is overall theory and how research should be done. It discusses every aspect of your research process, starting from research question development and then going in order to collect the data, then processing information, and finally report writing. All these are the steps of your research methodology. That is what our research topic, our subject is research methodology. So I am going to explain all the steps, starting from how you can establish a very good research article or research topic or research question, and then we go with the second method for research design, and then we process data, information, all these. So this is your research methodology. But on the other side, we call it methods or research design. Both we use for same thing, which is basically deal with the how you are going to collect and process your information or your data. So data collection and research design is basically a part of, methods and research design is basically the parts in which you explain data collection procedures, okay, with your methodological approach. So means that methodology, research methodology and research methods are entirely two different things. So this subject particularly deal with the research methodology, which start with posing a research question or choosing any good idea of research. So that is your research methodology starts with. But on the other hand, methods is basically just a subset or small part of your methodology, where we are dealing with the data collection procedures and data analysis procedures. Okay, so that is called methods. Okay, so methods and methodology is entirely different, so don't mix these two terms. So this subject is basically research methodology, and we are going to learn about the research process from A to Z, while the method or research design deal with the data collection and analysis procedure. Okay, now in some way this research, the term of research, I already explained about the methodology, but the term research is also being misused widely. Okay, so we can consider why research has been used wrongly. For example, if you are collecting information without any clear purpose, or without having any clear idea, or without facing any issue you want to solve, without these situations, if you collect any information, that is not a research. For example, if I am going to buy a new car, okay, so if I am collecting information about the car without any purpose, without any process, or without any comparison between the different brands or different procedures, so I have not defined any set mechanism or parameters on which I am going to collect this information, that is not a research, that is just information. So when we surf internet, we try to find out the information, so don't misinterpret that information with research. So research have clear purpose, research have a clear objective to achieve. So first you have to set the objective, and then you need to do your research. Okay, so objective is your first thing which we use in the process. Okay, so if you are collecting information without the objective, without the clear purpose, that is not a research. So that's why some people, they consider it research, but actually it is not a research. Okay, now the second thing is reassembling and reordering facts or information without interpretation. So that is also very important aspect. Okay, you are not supposed to collect data and do not do any analysis or any interpretation from them. It is not a research. So mostly people, they collect information from different people, they use questionnaire, collect information, and they just, without any interpretation and without any analysis, this information is not a research. Okay, no matter you have collected data or you reorder existing facts or information, that is not a research. Okay, research where we use this term analysis. Okay, so in research we do analysis. There are different types of analysis: qualitative, quantitative, or experimental design, or observation design, action research. Different types of research are there. But my point here is, in research you not only collect data but analyze that data using some procedures or methods. Okay, so that method will determine your research. So if you are not doing it, it means that you are not doing any research. So that is another thing you should understand. Okay, now finally, as a term to get your product or idea noticed or respected, some people, they use this word because they know there is a respect associated with this word research. So if you are doing so without any purpose or without any clear indication of your objective, that is not research. So some people, they use this word to get more attention from the audience. So that is simple. This is not a part of your research process. So this term and also methodology, these two terms have been used wrongly. So you should clear your ideas, clear your concepts. So research methodology means that we are going to start with setting a clear objective. We call it research question, and then we try to collect data, and then we try to analyze data, and then we'll form a report, which is writing of your research. So these all steps, if we complete, then it is called a research. If any step is missing, this is not a research process. Okay, so research methodology is basically a very wide term. Okay, so I'll explain what are these steps of research methodology, but still let's move to the next concept. Okay, now what are the different classifications of the research? Now, I told you research is basically set objective. We collect data to provide evidence on that objective, and then we provide analysis of your data in order to show your evidences in a pattern or scientific method that is your claim, okay, and means that audience, they understand what you are talking about or what is your claim on any issue. So that is called research. Now let's see what are the different classifications of research. Normally research can be categorized into two major categories. One category where you are trying to improve the already existing body of knowledge, or you are trying to search a common solution for a problem which is faced by the humanity, or in simple way, you are trying to extend information or body of knowledge. That is called basic research. Okay, first category. And the second one is where you are facing any problem. For example, the sales are being declined for a particular company. If you want to see why the sales have been declined and you are trying to use that research, in that case you are doing an applied research where you are facing a problem and then you are trying to see how these problem can be solved. Okay, so this is applied. In basic research, we usually do in universities where we try to extend the body of knowledge, but the applied research usually in the organization or even in the universities that can be done, but that is based on particular problems or issues or challenges, okay, that particularly faced by a particular organization or not. So basic research is universal and applied research is focused on some particular small objective in that nature, which is more main applied. Okay, so applied research and basic research. Let me just dig into these two concepts more, and we'll try to find out what are the differences between these two terms, basic and applied. So you can categorize whether your research is basic or applied. Okay, so we should understand what are the basics and applied research. So in the basic research, the purpose is to expand the body of knowledge, extend the information already available on some particular subject. For example, if I'm working on something like how many types of the different viruses available all over the world. So it means that this is a very general question. And if I want to do some research on it, so I will try to extend the existing body of knowledge. Okay, previously the researchers say there are, for example, 10,000 different types. But now you find out, no, there are more different types of viruses are there. So it means that maybe it is 11,000. So this is what you have done. You have just extended the information already available. You have just broadened that already available information. Okay, so that can be utilized for all humanity, not only for one organization or one particular set of community. Okay, so that is extending in the body of knowledge. That is the purpose of your basic research. On the other hand, applied research is to improve understanding on a problem you are facing. For example, I told you sales decline, profits are not there, okay, costs are high for a company. So all these are basically very particular issue related to a particular company. So if you are trying to solve these type of situations or these types of problem, that is your applied research. Okay, so understand. So the purpose of basic research is different, purpose of applied research is different. Then the next thing is results are basically in terms of universal principles for basic research. When you extend the body of knowledge, this is basically can be utilized in many ways. For example, Newton's law of motion. He just extended our existing theoretical thinking or existing information on how motions of the objects is perceived by the people. So what he did, he just provided these principles or laws of motion which extended your available information or existing perception of the motion, and what happened then you utilize it in a different way. Okay, this is a basically pure example of basic research. Okay, so it gives you universal set of principles that can be applicable all over the humanity. So that is the purpose of your basic research. And then in applied research, the results are basically applicable to particular solution for a particular problem. For example, if we are looking for company ABC and their sales have been declined, so whatever we investigated in that case, it is applicable to that particular firm only, not other firms. Okay. For example, in the past, Apple have already done a market research in 2006 in order to find out why their sales has been declining. And then they interviewed different customers, and finally they find out the set of solutions or problem that were in their product. So what they did, they just tried to extend those, they try to apply those solutions to their company in order to own their product, in order to get more and more profit. So you can see now the graphs of Apple is enhanced enormously. So this means that the purpose of applied research is focus on solving a particular issue that is faced by a particular company. Okay. Then the final difference in terms of purpose is, the purpose of basic research is to provide the finding that have significant value for the society, not only for a particular organization. But in applied research, you can see that the solution is basically based on some basic problem and only for one or two companies, which are basically, or maybe a particular sector. So it means that applied research have not universal principles. So that is based on purpose. The second difference is in terms of context. The context of applied and basic research are different. Basic research is mainly done in the universities and research institutions where we are going to extend available information. Okay, and the choice of topic, especially this is very important in basic research. The choice of topic and objective, that the researcher can set these objectives by himself. He don't need to consult the management or any other organization or any stakeholders, because he is the one who is stakeholder of this research. So what will do? He is the one who is going to set the objectives of the research. That is what we do, and that is what usually we do in our research paper, then research article or research reports and thesis. So what we do, we try to set the objectives of the research. Okay, and the time scale is very flexible. In PhD, we need 2 to 3 years, but it is flexible. You can do it early or you can do it later than that. The time availability is also in the hands of the researcher and many other factors that may be sometime we don't have budgets or all this. So this time is flexible because we have budgetary constraint. But on the other hand, the applied research can be done in different contexts, like maybe in universities, but mostly in the organizations, because it solves the problem of any organizations, okay, or any human issues or any lab issue or any particularly disease. So in that case, this type of research is done in many contexts, not only the universities, organization, the community, everywhere. So the settings can be different in that case when we are dealing with the applied research. And the objectives, we need to set these objectives with the management. For example, if we are working for any organization where we are looking for the options of enhancing their sales, it means that we have to set these objectives of the research with their top management. So means that we have to negotiate with the originators or the top management or the stakeholders of that particular research. Obviously, applied research is much precious or much pressure game, because we have to face the time limitation, because the time are very limited in those cases. So we have to deal with that situation. So in simple way, if you are looking at this, when we are trying to find out the vaccination of this COVID, that is a purely applied issue, because we are facing a challenge, and all these universities, institution, organization, pharmaceutical industries, all they are trying to work on this COVID vaccination. And you know, the time scales are very different. In normal way, if you are going to develop a vaccination for a particular virus, it may take 3, 4 or 5 years. But in the current scenario, because it is purely an applied research, we have to do it quickly. So that is the pressure, because the humanity is involved, the people health is involved. So that is a pressure game. So it means that applied research context is different, the basic research concept, and the context is entirely different than the applied research. So that is very clear differentiation between basic and applied research. So let's move on. Now we are very clear about the different classifications, the applied and basic research, and we are also clear about the method and methodology, and we are also clear about what is a research methodology. Okay, now let's move on to the research process, the final objective of today's class. So this, I'm going to tell you the 6-step process in which we do a scientific research, no matter it is qualitative or quantitative, it is descriptive or explanatory, any form of research, we need to follow these particular steps. So please mark these steps and try to figure out how we do all these steps. So all these subject in these 14 lectures, I'm going to explain these 6 steps in very detail. So this is the backbone of your subject, and it is the basic understanding of your research methodology. So what we need to do is, in each class, I'm going to explain one step, and then we are going to extend. Maybe in some steps, we are going to take 2 or 3 lectures. So that is how your research method subjects is going to be taught. So you have to understand these 6 steps are very important in this case. Okay, so let's start. Now, the first thing you have to do is to formulate and clarify a topic. Now this step is basically your starting point. In this case, you have to think what would be your topic. That can be, again, it can be basic or it can be applied. So you have to think whether you are working for a company or providing a solution to a company, or you are going to extend the body of knowledge which can be used universally. Okay, so you have to think in which classification is your research, and then you have to formulate your research question. So research question is the thing, or objective, we call it objective of questions. Both are linked with each other. So in that case, you have to understand, the more clearer your research question or research objective is, the more clearer your research finding would be. So in that case, this step is the most important part of your research. When you are going to start your research, you should clearly identify your topic. As I mentioned in my classes, many of my students, they come to me and they said, "Sir, I'm interested in human behavior. I'm interested in human resource management. I'm interested in finance. I'm interested in operation management." So this means, it means nothing to me, because human resource management is a very broader concept, and there are many steps or many procedures involved in human resource management. So what particularly your area of interest? When we ask this question, it is not about any subject. It means that you have to address what is your basic concept where you want to work. For example, I'm planning to work on digital technologies. I'm planning to work on sustainability. I'm planning to work on financial technologies, medical technologies. There are many different topics. These topics are also under that human resource management. For example, digital human resource performance. All these are basically the concept which you can study, but all comes under the human resource management. So that is why this first step is very important. You have to narrow down your area of interest. It should not be the broader one. It should be very specific, and most importantly, the latest one. Okay, so try to figure out what are the new research agendas are there. Try to see some new article and try to find out what is your interest, the area of interest. In that case, you would be able to identify your research question. To identify research question, you have to figure out your area of interest and then you have to move on in this case. Okay, so that would be your first step. In this case, I would expect that you are going to give me your area of interest in the next class. Okay, so before the next class, I would be able to understand what is your area of interest, and if there is any confusion in that, we can discuss and we can find out a particular area of interest for you, and then we can see what are the challenges, issues or future agendas or literature gaps are available on that particular issue. Okay, so that or particular topic. So first thing, you have to formulate and clarifying a topic. Please choose the topic which you like. Don't choose topic based on your friend's choice or your classmates or maybe the people who are already doing the research. Okay, no, that is not the case. You have to find out the topic or area which you are interested in. Not your friend, not your parent, not anybody else. So that is your topic. So that's why when you do something which you like, it would give you added advantage, and the collecting information would be more interesting for you rather than a boring research management or research methodology process. So that's why I would recommend you to find out what you like more. So that's, in that case, you can link it with the research topic and you can do good research. Okay, so that is what I expect from you in the next class. So next step would be reviewing. You have to review the literature. So literature review would be the second step. I'm going to teach you literature review maybe in the next class, and there are different types of reviewing the literature and different scientific and non-scientific methods are available. I'll teach you both methods and you can choose which method is appropriate for your research and you can use it in your research. So second step would be reviewing the existing literature. You have to see what work already being done on that specific topic and what work has been done and where is the gap, what work has not been done. So done and not done, you have to identify through reviewing the literature. So this is where you identify whether your topic has significant gap in the literature and it is giving us some good contribution in the body of knowledge or good contribution in scientific research. In that case, we can figure out in a review process. Okay, so in review process, the main objective would be to find out what work has already been done and what work has not been done. Okay, in this case, you will try to figure out or will try to find out or you try to map what gaps are available in literature. When I say gaps, it means that this is your area of interest where you are working. Okay, although we have clarified the topic and we have a very clear research question, but during the review process we can review and more clarify this research question and objectives based on the gaps in literature available. Okay, so that is what I'm going to teach you in the next second step. The third step would be designing your research. That is where this is the part where we use the research methods. Mean that how you are going to collect data, who would be your respondent, what would be your data collection procedure. Okay, so this all is basically your research design. So you have to design your research very carefully, because this step, if this is not clear, your respondents are not choose very carefully, in that case your result would not be significant. Okay, so because you are giving contribution in the body of knowledge, in that case you have to be very careful regarding the data collection. No matter you are collecting qualitative or quantitative, experimental design, any form of data, but you need to set clear parameters on the research design, which methodology you are going to use, who would be your respondents, and how you are going to collect data, either it is interview or questionnaire or experimental design or observational design. All these options are available, but you have to choose it very clearly before you start your research work. So that would be research step 3. Okay, now let's move to step 4. When you design your research, the next step would be quickly you go with the data collection. So you have to collect data based on your research design. You already defined your respondent, you already decided your number of sample size, you have already decided your population. So all these parameters have already been defined in designing stage. In data collection stage, you are just going to collect data based on what you have decided in the designing stage. So that would be your step number 4. Now step number 5 is very clear. We have collected data now. The next step is to analyze. We are going to use it or process it through any computer software, because that would be very easy process. In that case, you can use a lot of statistical and qualitative tools through computer aided techniques or software. So that is where you are going to analyze your data and present your data in a very meaningful way. Okay, so analysis is your 5th part, and the last part is your writing. Writing your report, it must follow a structure. This structure can be your FYP, final year project, it can be your thesis, or it can be any research article. So each have its own writing pattern. So you need to follow the particular writing pattern which we are going to give you in your research during the PSM, final year project. But if you are writing a PhD thesis, you have to follow your university pattern. And if you are writing any research article, the template would be available for that particular journal for which you are writing any research article. So you have to follow those particular writing patterns which we are which is available based on your research. Okay, so scientific literature may be pure sciences, engineering, mathematics, physics, and they use a different pattern. For those like us, we are using business methods. So in the business method or technology management or all these subjects, we are using a different template or design. Okay, so this is already available online, so you can use this template to write your report. Okay, so write up would be your 6th step. Okay, so these are 6 steps I'm going to teach you in this particular subject, stages of research methodology, 6-step process. This is what we are going to learn in these 14 lectures. Okay, so these are the research process 6 steps, but you need to consider few factors. They are very important, and while you are doing research, you should consider them very carefully. Okay, so the first thing, you should not include your personal beliefs or personal feeling in the research process. This is called researcher bias. If you are using or you are tilted towards some specific solution before starting any research, it means that you are already biased. Okay, so researcher biasness should avoid. In most of the cases, many researchers they have personal feelings and beliefs about some particular subject or topic or problem, and then this feeling they affect or they influence the research process. Okay, now the second step is access to data. In some cases, most of the universities in Malaysia, they have access to data in terms of data stream, in terms of Scopus, in terms of Web of Science, but it is not case in all over the world. The data is restricted for literature review. This is the similar case when you are going to collect data. Maybe the companies, those who want to give you maybe this restricted information, and they would not allow you to use this data for your research. So that should be considered very carefully. While you are designing your research, you should consider who is your respondent and from where you are going to collect data. In data, we can consider for literature review access to Scopus and all other databases, and also data for your research process or data collection procedure. So access to data is a very important factor that you should consider while you are doing your research. Okay, and the time and resources. For this, we have only 1 year to complete our research process. So that's why you should consider this timing very clearly, because you cannot invest 6 or 7 months in just collecting data from your respondent, or you can spend a lot of money in data collection procedure or other research management procedures. So that's why you should consider time, budget, and other resources very clearly. Okay, now what data you have collected, the reliability and validity of the data is very important. No matter if you are doing interviews, if you are doing other data collection procedures or any form of data collection, the reliability and validity of the data is a very important concern. And you should set the parameters through which you are going to evaluate or validate the reliability and validity of your data. Okay, there are some statistical procedures available, and also procedural methods are also available to establish the reliability and validity of your data that I am going to teach you. But consider this is a very important factor while you are doing your research. Okay, and then ethical consideration, as we know, this is most important part of in any research process or any academic process. You should consider ethical issues very carefully. Okay, so we should not harm any trees during the experiment, any animals during the experiment. We should not plagiarize our work. We should not use unethical means to collect data. All these information and whatever you are doing should be disclosed very clearly to the respondents and all this. This is the simple ethical considerations or ethical issues in the research method. So that should be considered very well. So all these factors are very important while you are doing your research. So consider these factors as a primary indicators of validity and reliability of your research. So that we are going to learn in detail. But for now, you should understand all these factors are very important. Okay. Now remember, after all these things, I must say one thing, which is basically there is no one best way for undertaking all research process. Each topic is different, and you may face different challenges and issues than your friend. And even though if I'm working on different papers or different research articles or different research projects, every time we face different challenges, because each research project is different in nature, in terms of resources, in terms of time, in terms of ethical consideration, in terms of all other procedural methods. Every research is different than other. So it means that there is no one best way of undertaking all research. It doesn't mean that you are understanding the research methodology. It means that you would be able to do all types of research. No. Each research is different. Some part universally applicable, but most of the time you have to learn by doing. Sometimes while we are doing a particular research, we learn during the process what we need. Okay, maybe in some data collection, the different analysis techniques are required, then you need to learn those techniques. Okay, so keep yourself open for learning. That is the best message I'm giving you. And I'm very excited in teaching this subject, because it will allow you to learn a new skill, new knowledge every day. So you can acquire, you can improve your knowledge, your skills, communication skills, and your scientific skills all during this subject. It means that it will allow you to foster your learning process, and it will give you ability to access the latest information around the world. So that's why this subject would be very interesting, and that is the reason I would say you should start your work now, and every day you should learn something new. And that would be the promise we are going to make with ourselves today. Okay, thank you very much for watching me, and you can download this video, or you can access this information on this YouTube channel. So you can consider subscribing, like and share and comments on this channel. So this would be for your learning purpose. But remember, I'm going to ask you a class activity at the end of each class. So today's class activity I have already discussed. You have to give me a very clear research topic before the next class. In the next class, we will discuss on these topics and we'll try to refine your idea. In next lecture, we are going to learn how we can establish or develop a very valid research question and research objective. That would be interesting to learn. Thank you very much and have a very nice day.